All right, Anthony, it's a cold winter morning, man. What are we gonna be able to catch around here?
We're gonna catch a great deal of speckled trout. We're gonna catch some really big ones too. The sun's been up for a couple hours, water temperature's starting to come up, air temperatures are moderating, tides are doing exactly what I want them to do. Everything's perfect.
Good, that's what I like to hear.
Man, I can't wait. God, what a beautiful day right after our front passed through yesterday.
It did. We don't have to worry about any rain. All we gotta worry about is setting the hook on some big trout.
All right, well, if we keep Tom warm, he's a pretty cold weather wimp, we Florida boy, so if we keep him warm, we'll probably do pretty good.
This will be a little cooler than the Keys, but I think you'll like it.
Cool, man.
Good day, Katie.
Yes! Look at that guy! That is a shark.
That's the biggest fish I've ever caught.
Woo! Look at him, relax. Oh! Dude, he just ripped my boat off. The situation we were fishing for most of these trout in was similar to what I've done back home. I fished little runouts and creeks back, on the flats. We'd have a big flat and then little creeks that would drain there. This was a much larger scale. Everything was a larger scale. Instead of being a small grass flat, we were talking about the Mississippi River Delta, and we get in a branch of the Mississippi River Delta itself and find a little eddy or pocket or break in the current, and those fish, instead of sitting there right out in the current, they'd kind of fall in behind it and stacked, by the thousands. And we'd just get into that break, either trolling motor right up on it and cast down in front of them and hook them up, or sometimes we'd drop an anchor, and if we found a good load of them, and it was a very productive way to fish. There he is. There he is. Pretty good. Yeah, pretty solid body. Pretty decent sized fish.
Right on. I haven't even gotten ready yet. You stole my rod.
This isn't your rod.
Well, it is so.
Pretty good sized fish, man. Yeah. Nice red. Look at this, Tom.
I'm gonna look at
said
him.
we were trout fishing, man.
It's a little bone.
Yeah, it is. What really caught me by surprise is while we're fishing for these trout in 15 to 20 feet of water, all of a sudden, whoa, I hook into these big fish, and I'm catching these big redfish. I would have never thought, again, thinking that the redfish are shallow water fish. Tom and I traditionally catch them in 2 feet of water or less, and here we were out there in a school of trout, and we were hooking into these nice big reds, and so that really, made it exciting.
It's got to be one of the prettiest redfish you'll ever see.
Deep body.
Where your line is here, tell him.
I got it.
Look at that guy. Oh, that's what Mr. Randazzo is known for right there.
Yeah.
Being able to find these on a consistent basis.
Even when he tries to take us trout fishing, we find perfect slot redfish.
When Tom and Rich got to town, they told me they were ready to go out and catch some fish. They didn't care what size fish we caught, what kind of fish we caught, how many we caught. They just wanted to go fishing. We really didn't have a lot of things in mind, but I knew deep down inside that I wanted to show them something special. As much as I love to fish for redfish, there are countless days that I spend pursuing speckled trout. We've got one of the best speckled trout fisheries in the entire Gulf Coast here in South Louisiana. Some days we'll go out and catch 100 or more speckled trout in a short period of time. There are a lot of 2 to 3 pound trout that just swarm into the Mississippi River this time of the year. They're eating a lot of river shrimp and a lot of small mullet, put it on weight for the winter season that's coming in the near future. And we know exactly where those fish are going to be and how to find them.
Got them going now.
Trout are just a little above legal size, but there's some really good quality trout swimming in the river system right now. This one's probably 13 inches. We've got to have 12-inch trout to be legal. We keep 25 of these per person, so it doesn't take long, any size, that number to fill up a cooler.
Now back in Florida, we've got 15-inch size, and we have to work really hard to catch 15 inches back in my particular area. And what's the biggest trout you've ever caught in Louisiana?
My personal best is 8.5 pounds, but I know several 10-pounders that have been caught here. There's another one.
Is it a 10-pounder?
Not quite 10, but
nice.
He'd be great for supper.
Now what depth are you getting that bite?
That fish is sitting there in about 8 to 10 feet of water.
And you bounce it.
Holding real tight on that hard sand bottom, waiting for the river shrimp to come by in the current. First couple of spots that we stopped at, we were catching some speckled trout, but they weren't quite the caliber of trout that I was looking for. It didn't take long, a couple more stops, and we were catching some substantial speckled trout.
That's what we're looking
Nice
for right
trout,
there.
man.
Shouldn't net him there,
Is
Rich.
that him?
Afraid if I pick him up, that hook will come right out of his
He's
net.
like right here. Oh, that's a good one.
Look at him. That's a soft bite. It's a very soft bite.
That's a nice trout.
In the late fall and the early winter months when the Mississippi River's at the rock bottom low level, we've got this beautiful green salt water inundating the river and all of its tributaries. An angler could literally go out and catch 10, 12 different species of fish in a day. Every conceivable species of both fresh and saltwater fish that are native to the Mississippi River Delta will be there and will be catchable this time of the year.
You're so spoiled.
There's a million fish like that in the river system right now.
A million like this?
Yes.
Well, we're gonna have a good day then.
I believe it.
Closed captioning is provided by Lawrence. We lead, we find, you win.
The Hawks Cay Saltwater Experience, presented by Yellowfin, is brought to you by Hawks Cay Resort Marina and Villas. All the fun of the Florida Keys in one island resort. Yellowfin, only in a Yellowfin. Quantum rods and reels, fishing at a quantum level. By Mercury Marine. Lawrence, makers of HDS, high-definition systems. By Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Sperry Topsider, a passion for the sea. And by Loadmaster, Power Pole, Corrosion Block, Ocean LED, and Tough Line.
The fishing gets so good this time of the year in the Mississippi River Delta that anyone can catch these fish. I've taken first-time anglers out, and I've taken children as young as 4 years old out. Merely dropping a hook over the side of the boat can result in a fish catch. You don't have to really be a great caster. We're fishing open water, just basically keeping the line tight and letting the jigs fall. You don't have to be skilled whatsoever in order to go out and have a great day.
I love it, man. You throw out there, catch a trout, a redfish, anything, man. You don't know what it's gonna be. And it could be a 30-pound red or something right here too, couldn't it?
Sure could.
That's one.
There you go. Got another nice one.
Anthony's always told us about his trout fishing and about the population of trout that he has here, and he was right. There were a lot of trout. Boy, there were a lot of trout. I mean, it's hard to even put a number on what I think was down there, but certainly thousands, you know. It wouldn't be any exaggeration to say there were thousands and thousands of trout piled into these areas that Anthony found. But I do have to say that it was nice to pull a couple of big redfish out of the mix there to be able to put a couple of nice ones in the boat as well as the trout fishing.
There he is.
Right on.
As many fish as we caught, you had to know not only where they were or where they were supposed to be, but where they were that day. I've never seen an inshore fishery that was more reliant on the technology of a bottom machine. If you didn't have that bottom machine there, one, you wouldn't know where the breaks are, and two, you wouldn't know where the fish are. So you're just basically, you know, a shot in the dark, hoping, bouncing here, bouncing there. And we bounced around, and with the help of that bottom machine, we found the mother lode.
Redfish, trout, every cast, man. Awesome. It's a good trout, my man.
Very good trout.
That's really cool how they're holding on that one little ledge right there. You get
What's
a
cool
bite.
about it is not just catching a fish like this, being able to be in a situation like this to where you learn how to use your electronics better. And when you learn how to use your electronics, it doesn't matter if you're fishing for trout or redfish or permit or bonefish or tuna or whatever it is that you're doing. A unit like this, Lawrence, can help you to find the areas where you're going to consistently catch them. Every time you're going there, you're going to be able to get, if the fish aren't there, at least you're going to be able to go back to the same exact spot where the fish should be. You're going to be able to mark them or tell immediately if they're not there. Let's see. Okay, I see another feature here. I'm going to try to. We just came off that one contour, and both Rich and I hooked up because we're looking at this sonar chart right now. If we were just out here, you know, you might not know the difference between a small contour or a big one. And if you just keep your eye on this sonar chart, you can not only mark the fish, but you can see exactly what the bottom contours are. And one of my favorite features is when you're trying to find a wreck or a certain area, just like we're doing here, you can go to Pages, and you can go to map with sonar, and you can have your icon here, and you can also be looking over at the bottom right through here. And see, there he is right there. We came right across that same feature.
Nice one there.
There you go.
Trout.
Okay, we got another mountain of fish, Anthony. Boy, I'll tell you what, you found them here. We came up this. This is, if you zoom this out, let's go back to the. First of all, I'm going to put a waypoint in here, or another icon at least, so we know we're right there. And let's go back to the sonar page and go to a full sonar chart and look at what we just came across right there. We're going to be able to come back across it again. Now, I got a better fish here right on that.
Yeah, you got one?
Oh,
You got two?
well,
That's what he got.
I told you we were on a whole lot of them.
Look at that, 2 at a time.
Put it right there, and that, I guess, go for this one first. Which one should I get first?
Having the Lowrance graph on the boat is just a very valuable tool in these cooler months of the year. Normally I'm fishing in pretty shallow water, and you don't get the opportunity to mark fish just because of the cone of the transducer under the boat. But when you get in these 10, 20-foot depths, you're going to mark some fish on there if you're going to be in the neighborhood where they live. Today, Tom and Rich got an opportunity to see firsthand the fish on the depth finder and the graph, and actually put the baits right into that area, catch those fish without any doubt that those were the fish that they were looking at.
Anthony, I never in my life would believe that you rely on the bottom machines to catch trout. You know, back home we catch them in shallow water, and here, I mean, it's everything, isn't it? It's amazing, man. Put it down there. I think this one might be a red. Wow, that's awesome, man. All those trout and reds mixed in with each other. That's cool. That's impressive, Anthony. You run over here, stop, idle, turn on your machine, look down there. Oh, there's a school, and stop and catch them. That's awesome.
Anthony, you grew up bass fishing, right? And when did you switch over to a bay boat from a bass boat?
In the early 90s, I switched from bass boats to bay boats. The bay boats were, able to carry more passengers, and they floated on a level plane. They allowed me to float in shallow water as well as to get into and out of that shallow water with greater ease.
Right. Now, I mean, Tom and I, we grew up, guiding out of the flat skiffs, for the same reason, shallow water. And then I also, did a lot of offshore fishing, and that's why we were so happy with the bay boat, because we're able to, kind of intermix and do a little bit of both. And it works good for you in Louisiana the same way, right?
Sure. I've had the opportunity to fish this boat from Texas to Florida, and it's fished great everywhere I've went on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah. I think we're pretty lucky that all three of us got to be able to put a little input on this new 24 bay, and kind of put our 2 cents in it with it, Louisiana, Texas, and Florida, all of our input together, and came up with a pretty awesome boat, man.
It's the best. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Here's some fish right here.
Yeah.
30 feet, going all the way up to 20 feet. There he is right there. Look at this, I'm gonna hook up again, definitely.
God, look at them all.
Look at that school of fish right there. There he is. It is so cool to be here, to be able to sit right here and look at this and mark the fish. Whoa.
Just like that.
Mark the
Oh, I got
fish
a
that
good one
you're
here,
about
man.
to catch.
Yeah, nice trout here.
Just like in any other area, with any other species, the fish are going to move. The importance of the Lowrance graph today was so obvious. Anthony would pull in these areas, idle over them. We wouldn't even make a cast unless he was marking stuff on the bottom. And then when he did mark stuff on the bottom, boy, you could see it right away. He got so excited. We'd drop in there and bam, 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 we'd catch fish right away. We'd get off of the mark and we wouldn't catch anything. We'd have to slide back over there. Anthony, as well as he knows this area, as intimately as he knows every little spot, he's still looking constantly at that graph. It's no different than bass fishing, man. You want to stay on a little piece of brush on the bottom, you got to see that. You got to see that bottom graph constantly, and the importance of that today was so obvious, and we were so lucky to have such a good quality machine on board, and not only that, but know how to use it.
Yeah,
Very
man.
nice. That's a serious trout there.
Since the passing of Hurricane Katrina, there's not been much in the way of accommodations or restaurants or fuel or anything of that nature in the Venice area or the surrounding areas. Typically, we're meeting in Bell Chase and transporting our guests down to the fishing area and back. Tom and Rich came, met me at my house, and we drove down to the Venice area. It was quite a scenic drive along the way. Of course, I've seen it a lot more than most people have, so it's, you know, almost a rerun for me. I just, you know, brought up quite a few highlights for them, let them take it all in for themselves, and they were very amazed at the devastation, how widespread it was. And they know that it's going to take a long time for everything to get back to normal, but surely the fishery hasn't been destroyed, and that's the most important thing from our point of view. It was 13 days after Hurricane Katrina before I was personally able to drive back to my residence, and the very next day I was able to take a helicopter ride over the entire Venice area, survey the damage, and knew that this was going to be the storm of my lifetime. The lodge really took the brunt of the storm for us. It was right there where the storm came ashore, and there were great big waves that came over the banks of the Mississippi River and flooded the lodge well up past the roof line into the second story. So that you know, pretty much summed it up. We knew that there was going to be structural damage, mold and mildew, water damage, all that types of stuff. But fortunately, on the flip side of the coin, my personal residence fared very well. It had minimal damage, and it's actually 100% to date. The good news is, in spite of all the devastation and destruction that has occurred, we are back on the map in the sense that we're able to take our customers out, fish with them, show them a really good time. The New Orleans airport is back up and running. The highways are clear. There are numbers of places to stay, places to eat. Maybe not in the immediate Venice area, but with a little bit of extra effort, commuting back and forth to Venice, we can go out and catch just as many fish as we ever caught before, if not more.
This is what I loved to do when I was a kid, man. I really loved it. It's pretty cool to get to do it as a profession, huh?
The Hawks Cay Saltwater Experience, presented by Yellowfin, is brought to you by Yellowfin, only at a Yellowfin. Finor, legendary tackle since 1933. The Florida Keys in Key West, come as you are. Yeti Coolers, wildly stronger, keep ice longer. Motor Guide, never stop. By Sirius Marine Weather, satellite weather direct to your boat. And by Under Armour, King Sailfish Mounts, Staybill, Scott Fly Rods, and Plano.
I was absolutely amazed today that this Lowrance bottom graph, you know, what it did for us today. It really earned its keep. We would not have caught half the trout and half the redfish we caught today without it.
You know, even for a fish that, you know, traditionally we feel is going to be a fish that we catch in shallower water, you can use the electronics and transducers to be able to produce fish like this, like Rich hooking up right now. As soon as we come over these fish, he probably hooked up, you know, in one of these different spots. Now the transducer is sitting right off the back, and we're getting a small cone that's going down. What happens is when our beam goes down and it hits something, it reflects back up, and that's what makes the arch or what we're marking as fish here. You can get the depth, and you can overlay your data. Like right now, the data that we have overlaid on the Lowrance here is we have the depth in big numbers, because that's very important to us. We want to know exactly how deep it is from a glance at the back of the boat or wherever. And you can overlay these numbers in what's called humongous, or big or large or smaller. And then we have the water temperature overlaid under this. You can put any kind of information on here. You can put your position, you can put the time, you can put anything you want. The two most important things to us right now are the temperature of the water and the depth. And then there's the fish right there.
There we go.
Uh-oh, that one's taking some line.
What do we have there?
That's not a trout, I don't think. That's big, man. It's a good fish, real good fish.
Oh man, I think I got one too.
There you go, boys.
The wildest thing for us is all three of us out there, I mean, numerous times, you know, had doubles and triples, and, you know, it's just a lot of fun to have that flurry of activity and, you know, a little competition thing going. If Tom would hook one and Anthony would hook one, then I'd be like, oh God, man, I gotta get one, you know, what's wrong with me, you know, so, and vice versa. So it's a lot of fun when you got three guys that are all good friends like us out there, you know, and catching a lot of fish. It was pretty cool stuff.
Good job,
Look
man.
at that guy.
Like any competitive angler, you always worry about what the guests on your boat think after you've gone out and fished for a day. And there was no doubt in my mind that Tom and Rich were ecstatic about the fishing trip. They remarked countless times about how many fish they were catching and how big the fish were. And that's a great feeling for me. Just like any customer, it's great to have friends on the boat and great to see them leave with a smile.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. You never steered us wrong in the past, and you sure didn't this time, boy. That's exactly what you come to Louisiana for right there. Look at that. Oh,
You literally talk about catching hundreds.
it's like a Cajun buffet right there, right?